Hi, my name is Anna Lindberg, and this is my full testimony of how I came from New Age, atheism, and then back home to Jesus. So, this is the full long version of my testimony in English. I am from Sweden, and I'm gonna try to be as personal and as vulnerable as I possibly can. Okay. So I am born in Sweden. I was raised in a culturally Christian household. Like, we never read the Bible at home, we never prayed, we didn't have any faith that was talked about. No one had any faith in my household. I always wanted to know the truth. Or the truth on why the world was such a terrible place. Like, why did people go to war? What was the reason that we destroyed our planet? Like, I just wanted to know what was wrong with the world and how can we fix it. And that was my agenda for forever, and and still is, but now I have the answer. It's in Jesus Christ. And yeah, so I did, like, in school, like when I was maybe 14, I did a study, like a project study on Jehovah's Witness. I did go to, like, in the Swedish state church, we have confirmation at 14 years old, where you confirm your baptism as a baby. And I remember going to this confirmation thinking I wanted to learn about Christianity. And I remember just looking at the cross and looking at this man hanging on the cross, not understanding anything. And I also remember thinking, well, these people working here, like the priest and everyone, they believe in this. They believe that there is, like, the savior of their world, like they believe in this craziness that I thought at the time. Like, and I remember thinking, like, but why are they so similar to the world? Like, if they believe in eternal life, like, why don't they live differently? Because I felt like, I always been very discerning about, like, people being authentic, or if people are in gossiping or anything. Like, I always been very discerning if they haven't lived, like, in their truth or authentic, or if they're happy. And I could just discern that the people in this church that are working here and believing in this Jesus, they're not acting like they're believing in it. So my conclusion was, it must be a lie. And then the year went on. I became an adult, and I was determined to create a life that was beautiful and happy. So I started working really, really hard. I started working at a marketing company, and I was way underqualified. Like, I didn't have a degree at this time, and I got promoted and got a really good role and had a good income. And I noticed quite quickly, like, being in this office job and having this nice title and doing all these like, good things that the world seems like, oh, this is, like, you have a good job, you have money and everything, you drove a nice car, like, all those things, like, how this environment was not, like, fulfilling for me, because I just felt like people were false, people were, like, not nice to each other, and it was just a harsh environment. So I was like, no, I'm not going to use my all my gifts in this world, like marketing, the marketing world, just buying, having people buy things that they don't need. Like that was not for me. So I experienced like this massive breakup, and it really shook my whole being. Like I thought I was gonna marry this guy, and we were together for like 4 years, and we were very, very, very close. And I thought I knew this person like inside and out. And then all of a sudden I realized that I didn't, and that he changed his mind and he didn't want to pursue a life together. And that really, it really shook me. Like it was like my whole safety net just like wiped wiped under my feet. And I decided to take all the money that I had and just go abroad. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to like fulfill myself, but or like get to know myself by traveling and solo traveling. And I decided to move to Australia, as far away from everyone as possible. And the first week that I got to Australia, I was trigger warning, trigger warning before. Sexual assaulted might be a better word. And I was very detached from my emotion. I was 21 years old, and I had no like capacity of even understanding what happened. Like my brain just went into like trauma survival mood, and I honestly didn't understand that I was trigger warning sexually assaulted until I came back to Sweden 1.5 years later. But what happened in Australia was really, really dark. That's when I got introduced to drugs. I had tried a little bit of like party drugs in Sweden, but it was never like, I remember we were smoking like weed for fun, but I never like had any like desire for it really, more than it just being fun. I always enjoy the feeling of being like high or drunk. And I see now that I was just escaping from myself. Like I just enjoy that feeling of being free and not having my critical perfectionist mind always controlling every step that I was taking, you know. So in Australia, that's when I really started spiraling, and I started just being extremely reckless with my life. I didn't, like, that's what trauma does to you. Like, you stop caring about your well-being, your life. Like, I didn't care. As long as I was on something, I didn't care, you know? It was really, really bad. And since I was alone in Australia, I had no friends, I had no family around. Like I did have friends, but they didn't, know me before. So I could just create this persona of being this wild, crazy girl. But actually, when I was younger, I never like wanted my friends to smoke cigarettes. Like, and then in Australia, like I just kept traumatizing myself. Like I kept putting myself in really horrible situations. I kept meeting men that was not good for me, and I was just desperately looking for something to make me feel like love and something that could just heal me. But I wasn't, I was in this blur. Like I wasn't even understanding what I was doing. But it was really, really dark, and it was all like framed as being this happy free life. Like I bought this car, and me and my ex-boyfriend at the time, like we went traveling. I posted all these pictures of being like, living the life, living la vida loca. But I was honestly very, very empty inside. Yeah, so I was living a really destructive life in Australia, and I just I lost myself, you know? It was really sad. And that's when I started to like open up a little bit, like doing a little bit of yoga. I went to India, you know, just trying new methods to feel better. And then when I came back to Sweden, I thought, you know, okay, maybe I just need an education, a university degree, because that's always been on my heart. Where am I gonna like be able to prosper in whatever gifting I have, and where is my like place in the world where I will feel this is me, I'm home, you know? So I started thinking about politics. I was like, oh, but that's just, they're just talking and slandering each other. And I started thinking about studying economics, but I was like, but that's kind of politics, but just like, you know, just a harsh environment, like making money. And I was like, maybe not that. And then I was thinking about law, and I was not, I like, it wasn't that I wanted to go to law, but it was like my last resort. And I thought, well, at least if I understand laws, I can make a difference. So I went to law school, didn't really enjoy it. I went 1 year to England for exchange student. And in England, it got really dark. I was living south of London, and it was a lot of drugs in England. Like it was, and I got into like bad relationships. And there was this one guy who he made me pregnant. I did an abortion. It was in England, the drug use was intense. Like it was daily, every day. And then I came back to Sweden to finish up my degree. I got together with this guy who introduced spirituality to me, like new age stuff. And he taught me to like take drugs in a spiritual manner, like mushrooms and LSD, and you know, like all these things. And I was so worn out and depleted and lost at that time. So I was like, I can just try this thing. Like I didn't really believe the way that he believed in spiritualism and like that we're all one and stuff. Like I didn't have that belief, but I was still intrigued because that was my only option. So I did all these mushrooms and things, and that was actually when I had my first spiritual awakening. That's when I was like, whoa, there are like, I felt connected. I had this massive like experience on mushrooms where I felt that there is more. I know that there is more. I felt like something, you know. So after that I was like, okay, I was open to learn more, but I wasn't like getting into it that bad. But then me and that boyfriend, we also separated, and that hit me hard as well. So I went deep into New Age. I went deep into spirituality. I was calling myself a witch. And at this time, I also started to feel like I wanted to become sober, because I was thinking, well, if there is a spiritual world, there must be a way for me to be sober and be happy. Like I don't need to smoke weed every day to feel at peace, or every time that I was home alone I needed to smoke because I just couldn't stand being by myself. Like I had so much trauma from like all these sexual experience with these men that was just really, really just horrible, because that's what I wanted. I was so traumatized that all I did was seek up more trauma. Like it's so dark. Like it was so horrible, and I kind of like glorified it all in me being this free woman, I was so believing my own lies that this was making me happy, that the cannabis addiction, like I literally needed to smoke in order to just step outside of my apartment. And it was so bad. I remember celebrating my birthday, and it was only with like my dad, his girlfriend, and like my best friend, and I needed to be high when we had dinner. And that was like the first like wake up call that I had. I was like, whoa, this is not like self-medication anymore. This is actually like an addiction. So I started to wanting to become sober, and that was really hard. But I kind of like yoga and meditated and forced myself to be sober. Like that was one of the hardest things I ever done. Like it was just so hard, but I always been very strong willed and strong minded. And the thing is, I also realized that I wouldn't survive. And what's interesting was, like, I wouldn't survive in the way I was living. Like I was living this triple life. I was like this good university student at day, and then by night I was just this raver kid that was up all night doing like drugs every night and working on restaurants, and just, yeah, the party never stopped basically. And of course that was going to affect my mental state and also my body. So after me trying to like quit, and I was maybe sober for like 3 months, I had huge withdrawals. Like it was crazy. Like I was sweating, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, like it was bad. And then after 3 months of being sober, I was studying. At this point I started my master's. So I started studying master in environmental law, because the bachelor in law like gave me nothing. Like I just felt like I need to know more in order to change something, you know. So I started my master's. After 6 months and being sober 3 of them, my body just collapsed. I remember one day I was sitting studying for an exam, and my body just shut down. Like I fell down on the floor. Like I couldn't see properly, I couldn't hear. Like it was so bad, and I had this immense headache, and I was like, and I just started crying on the floor, and I was like, what's happening? And it was like a snap. Like it was really just like, and I was completely out, and I didn't come back. I was ill for like 2.5 years, and that was when my healing journey began. That's when I started using all these like new age methods to try to heal myself, heal my traumas. I started like, I educated myself and became a yin yoga teacher for, I did like a 200 hours teacher training. Oh, wee. And I really thought like yoga was the answer. Like I thought if I could just breathe and stretch, I could get through anything. And then I started getting too deeply into tarot cards and like seeking truth and answers from the spiritual world, and it worked. I received a lot of revelation, and I continued doing that. And after 2.5 years, I was doing the exact same thing. I was crying, healing my trauma, doing shadow work, and then I was doing it again and again. And it was like after 2 years, my mom, who's never confessed her belief to me whatsoever, she got really worried, you know, seeing your daughter that sick for 2 years, like it it impacts the mother, it impacts the parents, of course. And she told me that she started praying for me, and when she said that, I knew she was praying to God, to Jesus. And I got so offended because, first of all, like, I considered myself the awakened one, the spiritual one, and in the family. And then my mom comes and like throws God at my face. And I was also offended by the fact that, because I didn't believe in Jesus at all. Like, I investigated all the religions, all the spiritualities, but never Christianity, because, you know, at 14 I had decided this is not the truth. So I was very determined on that, and I didn't have any Christian people around me or friends that could tell me otherwise, that it is the truth. And I was also offended because I've done like all this work for 2 years. Like, I gone into all the therapies, tried different medications, tried different breath works and yoga and I think you're a little bit tired. Yes. I did like everything. Like, I knew I done it all. Like, I was into Eckhart Tolle, and like I did every practice, the affirmation and the manifestation and yada yada yada. Like, there's so much that I did. And after 2 years, I knew I covered a great deal of practices. And when my mom told me she started praying for me, I saw the desperation in her, and I realized that she was actually very, very worried. And I realized I did not get any better. I was still sick. The practices that I did, honestly, I thought they were going to lead me more to love and more to loving others, but I started like blaming, you know, my family for my traumas. I started, like, it just became this like very separated, lonely world in my head when I constantly were like analyzing my triggers. And now I see that you are triggered. Like, I was taking on this role of knowing way more about people than I actually knew and had the right to know. But it was always like covered in this, in this lovey package. But then 2 weeks after her prayer, there was this YouTube video that came up on my feed on Facebook that said, "I am home." And I was so, I was spiritually, like, I trained my spiritual muscles, so I knew that video was something I was gonna watch. Like, I just felt the energy, and I was like, I was gonna watch that video. So I did watch it later in the evening, and there was this woman who's now my friend, and she was a toast madame at my wedding, and she shared her testimony, like I'm sharing my testimony now with you. And what she said really shocked me, first of all, because she was a woman that I could relate to. I could see that she's 10 years ahead of me down the line, like she had her own business. It was all about loving yourself as a woman. Like, I was just so inspired by like what she was doing or had been doing. And then all of a sudden she started talking about Jesus. And I was shocked because I never had heard anyone talk about Jesus in those spaces, And she said that Jesus is the way to inner peace. And that really stirred something in my heart, because inner peace, I worked so hard all my life to find inner peace, to find harmony, to find like, this is why I'm on earth, or this is what I should do here. Like, this is what I'm good at, and this is what, helps, makes me feel fulfilled. I've been searching all my life. And she says that it's Jesus. And she also says that she's ready to like lay down everything for Jesus. And I was very curious about that, because I really truly believe that humans can see when someone is not lying. Like, we can see when people are talking the truth. Like, I have no agenda with sharing this more than that Jesus is so good, right? Like, it's just my honest heart. And I believe that you can truly see that in my face, that I'm not trying to deceive you. I'm not trying to make you follow Jesus. No, like, I'm just sharing my story. And she was doing the same thing, and really it stirred something in my heart. And I'm gonna make a part 2. So this is part 1. I see you in part 2 about the craziness that happened when I started to pray to Jesus, and the spiritual realm showed its true colors. Okay, see you in the next one.